and it's over here, and check, go. Good to see all of you, very briefly, very quickly. My talk is about measures of success. It's about really how to stop using data in a way that will not drive you or your team crazy. And I want to give credit where credit is due. Everything I say in here comes really from my good friend, Mark Graban, and his new book, Measures of Success. It's a wonderful website for the book, by the way, measuresofsuccessbook.com. You can download templates, get all kinds of free resources there to help you use process behavior charts if you're not familiar with them. So since we don't have time to talk a lot and ask questions about who's familiar with them or not, I'm just going to roll on through, but ask a question if I say something that's not clear. From my perspective, the process behavior charts, also known as SPC charts or statistical process control charts, they are useful for answering these three management questions. Are we achieving our target? Are we improving? And how do we improve? So I want you to think about the charts not as a gearhead tool, but rather as a tool for management. And I think that's really important. Sometimes people are uncomfortable with it. But the truth is, they make things so clear, and all of a sudden you can when you start using SPC charts or PBC charts, process behavior charts, you can start to have an intelligent conversation about the results you're seeing. Some organizations use these charts, which are nothing more than colored wallpaper as far as I'm concerned. You can't spot anything in here except something was good or something was bad, depending on whether it's green or red. Tables are not very good because I can't tell what's high. I can see what's high and low, but I don't know what that means. I don't know if there's a trend here. I don't know whether something is an outlier or not. Sometimes you see data over time put into a bar chart. I think that's because it's real easy to use in Excel and somehow seems sexier because it'd be 3D. But when you're looking at data over time, bar charts are not very useful. What you really want to do is use run charts. So it looks like this. And in fact, if we take a look at the restaurant monthly sales, what I can see here by putting two bars, the red bars, which are 3 sigma up above and below the mean, tells me that I have a 99.99996% confidence that I'm going to make on any given month between $29,000 something and $50,000, which is useful to know because I can start to say, what if I change this? What if I change that? What if I have a different seating layout? What if I change the menu? If I can see that the sales go up to 51,000, I know I've got a significant change. But if it only goes up to 48,000, that doesn't tell me anything. That's just random variation. So when you're looking at these charts, I'm going to skip that for right now. There are 3 rules I want you to think about. The first is that you know that you have a signal. You have something that's significant when you see a data point outside of the red limits, the plus or minus 3 sigmas. And so you can see a rule 1 signal there. Rule 2 signal is 8 consecutive points on the same side of the median line, which is the green line in the middle. And you can see that over there. And finally, rule 3 is 3 out of 4 data points closer to the limit than to the central line, and you can see a rule 3 signal there. So if you see any of these rules being adhered to, you can say, I have made a significant change, or something has happened in our system to make it so that the change I'm seeing means something. I'm a New York Jet fan, but there you go. This was an article from the Wall Street Journal talking about how Tom Brady has declined in efficiency. But it turns out that that's a bunch of crap. He hasn't necessarily declined. And of course, they're talking about it in terms of yards per completion. He hasn't necessarily declined because if you look at it, it's all within the upper and lower ranges, which means that it could be random variation. There was an article a couple of years ago about the Yankees and how they're doing so much better than every other team in hitting home runs. And you can see here that if we chart not the Yankees over time, but all of the teams in baseball, you can see the Yankees are better for sure, but they're not statistically significantly better. Any one of those other teams could have hit as many home runs as the Yankees. In fact, the only time you see a signal like that was back here in 1927, which of course is when Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs. which is more than any of the other teams combined. So now I have a signal that tells me something is different here. Let's talk about what this means in a work context. This is from a hospital in the United States. It's very well known. One of the wards they're tracking, I'm not entirely sure what they're tracking here, but you'll notice they've got the greens when they're over 90, blues are 80s, and oh boy, 73%. And you can imagine the nurse supervisor saying, come on people, let's go. We're at 84%. We need to get up to 90, 93. That's our green zone, which sounds good on its face. But to my mind, it's nothing more than managing by emoji, because those numbers mean nothing. Yeah, there's a rule 1 signal down there, but nothing here means anything. It's just random variation. It's just random. And you can imagine the nurses sitting there trying to say, I don't know, why were we up at 98% yesterday and today we're at 84%? There's no reason for it. So this is from a company I worked with. They used to, the City Bike, the bike share group in New York City. They tracked the repairs per mechanic per shift of the bikes that would come into the repair facility. If it was under 5, they got yelled at and it turned red. If it was over 6, they got free pizza. They got a thumbs up because look how many repairs they were doing each day. That's awesome. When they went down, management would be like, come on people, you're getting lazy. What's going on here? Well, it turns out nothing is going on. It turns out that that variation between 3.5 or 3.6 and 7.1 or something like that, any variation in there could have to do with weather. It could have to do with just the normal shift and what kind of bikes they had to repair. Maybe it was a bunch of flat tires one day, and one day it was something a lot harder. And so instead of looking at those things, we need to figure out how do we improve the system so that we can get consistently above that 7. And in fact, we made a whole bunch of changes subsequently. So you can see there was a Rule 3 improvement earlier on in August. And then it turns out they brought in electric bikes and they had to start changing all the batteries because the batteries would run out in New York City. And you could see the decline. And then the changes that we made, again, kicked in. And you can see there's a whole bunch of Rule 1 improvement signals over off on the right. So we actually could see that we're improving. And that's important because we don't want people chasing ghosts. The key points I want you to take away from this very, very, very brief section is that 2 data points are not a trend. You need context. So if you hear that COVID-19 cases have gone up from 200 to 225 yesterday, that means nothing. It could be random variation, or it's gone up 2% or 5%, or it's gone down 12%. It means nothing. It's just 2 data points. A chart will tell you more than a list of numbers. So if you're seeing just a list of numbers, you're not going to be able to figure out exactly whether something is signal versus noise. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, there's always going to be variation. Don't waste time chasing ghosts. There's no root cause for it. Eric Ries, the founder of the Lean Startup Movement, I love this. He said, if we stopped wasting people's time, what would they do with it? And trying to have them chase ghosts and explain noise, why we had more clicks on our website or why we had more abandoned shopping carts makes no sense unless there's a signal there. Okay, need to contact me. Here's how to find me. Be delighted to talk with you more about it, and also check out Mark's book, measuresofsuccessbook.com. I wish there could be more interaction, but that's the nature of the virtual summit. If you do have any questions, please, please, please do not hesitate to call or to email or text or something like that. And I have a feeling we're about to be kicked out in like 12 seconds or something. See you guys in the giant group in a minute.
Thank you.
Roger that.